So this video is a little late because I got super sick out of nowhere and couldn't talk, but I'm feeling a lot better now. So let's dive right into my January wrap up. I started the year with my Eyes on Paper read being Martians and Masterminds, I think is what it's called. It's a biography of Fredric Brown, but more so a deep dive into everything he wrote. And I had to stop reading it because it started spoiling things I hadn't read. The big thing it started to spoil was The Fabulous Clip Joint, which I went ahead and read so that I could read some more of the biography. And The Fabulous Clip Joint by Fredric Brown is fantastic. It's not like the end all be all, but for a debut novel, it is very good. When I made a video about Fredric Brown talking about how he was good at twisting the genres he wrote in to tell stories in interesting ways, I got a lot of comments saying I needed to read the Ed and Ambrose Hunter series from Fredric Brown, and this is the first book in the series, and it is well worth the read. For anyone that is interested in crime fiction and wants to build a good knowledge base for enjoying the genre, this is one of those books you need to read. When it comes to debut novels, it beats out John D. MacDonald. It's just as good as Ross MacDonald's debut novel. I'm very impressed, and all those novels came out around the same time, like about a year apart at most. The premise of this one is Ed Hunter is trying to figure out who killed his father. It takes place in Chicago around 1947, and he goes and gets the help of his uncle, Ambrose Hunter, who is a carny. He used to be a private investigator or something, so he's like a mentor to Ed as Ed tries to solve this mystery. But the way Fredric Brown works is he takes a traditional plot in the genre he's writing in. And so this is young man tries to solve the murder of his father. But it's so much more than that. This book is the coming of age story of Ed Hunter. Yes, the plot is driven forward by attempting to solve this mystery, but by the end of it, it doesn't even matter that the mystery got solved, because the whole point of the story is to see Ed grow into being a man. It's great to see him looking back on being a child and also looking forward after the death of his father and growing into the person he's going to be. It's very cool. It's not something you see in the formulaic late 1940s crime fiction novels. It was quite refreshing in that aspect. Some parts are pretty corny, but we're talking about a crime fiction novel from 1947. Now, as he grew as a writer, he got a lot better at branching out, but you also remember this is still pretty early on in his career. Yeah, it's very good. I'm glad I read it, and I'm looking forward to reading more Ed and Ambrose Hunter novels. After that, I dip back into the rereading well, because this is probably going to be my year of rereads. There's going to be a new Dungeon Crawler Carl book coming out, which means I gotta reread the series. If Red God gets announced this year, I gotta reread the Red Rising trilogy. This might be the year where a third of the stuff I read is rereads, which is quite a bit. I think last year was like 20 books, so maybe a fifth of what I read, or a sixth. I don't know. This is a booktube channel, not a math channel. So let's talk about The Girl in the Plain Brown Wrapper by John D. MacDonald, book 10 in the Travis McGee series. This one is slightly different than the first 9 in a good way, because I worried about the series getting stale, but this one broke away from the traditional pacing of the other novels, for better and for worse. I think that this is still one of the weaker books. This was one of his attempts to introduce some minor characters that aren't typical of his storytelling and kind of flop, but it's still good. It's like a 4-star book, 3.5, who knows? Probably 3.5, but definitely in the bottom third when it comes to the quality of the McGee series. I think that one of the things that makes it stand out is he's not doing this job for money. He gets a letter from a friend who has passed away. Oh, this has one of the best intros in the series. Usually, like, every book has like a really good hook to start it off, but this one is just so satisfying. I'm not even going to spoil it, because you just get sucked right into this little adventure that he's on at the beginning of the book. And when he gets back, he gets a letter, and it is from a friend who has passed away since they sent the letter. And she was asking him to go visit her daughter, because her daughter has been having these psychotic episodes, doesn't want to be alive anymore, and she doesn't know why this is happening. Everything was normal, and then things went bad fast. So McGee goes into this town and visits the other daughter. He kind of gets a feel for the town, and there's this weird stuff going on, these mysterious deaths. It's just really refreshing to have a novel paced differently than the others in spite of its flaws. So who would have guessed a Travis McGee novel is good and worth reading and fun. So let's move on to one of the crazier books I read in the month, and that is The Dream Master by Roger Zelazny. Now, I am going to slowly chip away at his bibliography, which you'll see throughout this month and next month. The Dream Master is so weird. Is it good? Kind of. Is it weird? Very, very much so. Does it have some cool concepts? Yes. So the Dream Master is about a psychiatrist who specializes in dreams. The main character is able to enter the dreams of other people and manipulate those dreams, and he uses it as a form of psychotherapy. He gets introduced to this woman who is blind, but she wants to be a dream master. But the problem is how can a blind person manipulate the dreams of those that can see? And she's blind. It's like a eyeball thing, not a neurological thing. So her brain is capable of sight, but her eyes aren't capable of sight. So they figure out she can go into dreams and he can give her vision in the dream, but it's overwhelming. So they start super slow. And the thing about this is dream mastery is very difficult. And if you are not strong enough as the dream master, you can be sucked into those dreams and essentially take on the psychosis of the person you're treating. Or that person, if they're strong-willed enough, can drag you in and essentially break you as a person. So it's very tense in some of these sessions, and you get a build out of what this world does with this psychotherapy. And there's also a talking dog that steals the car because the car can be used with voice activation, and he just takes these automated cars out to the woods and does dog stuff, which I'm like, all right, bro, cool. I got a talking dog. It's awesome. You meet another talking dog too, who is terrifying because they're like essentially as intelligent as humans or very close to it. And they can talk. It just like hurts because their vocal cords have been genetically modified to speak, but it's not a pleasant feeling for them. Anyways, yeah, this has the ability to manipulate dreams and talking dogs, which sounds awesome. And were it executed a little better, it probably would be, but it dragged in places. And so like, it's just okay. Like, is it worth reading? Yeah, it's a super short book and it's by Zelazny. If you like Zelazny, you'll enjoy the book. Would it be on my recommended reading list for Zelazny? No. So let's move on. I was recommended a book by Samwise and it was incredible. Just out of the blue, he DM'd me and asked if I had read anything from Tim Powers, and I was like, no, where should I start? And he said, most of the time I wouldn't recommend this, but I think you would like the Anubis Gates. And so I immediately started the book. It's incredible. Anubis Gates would be my book of the month if it wasn't for another book on this list. It's so good. What is there not to like about time travel and Egyptian sorcerers, and it all taking place in like 1805 England? The main character is a historian, and he accepts a job from this crazy billionaire, and this is in like the 1980s or 1990s, and they're traveling back in time through this weird way that he has discovered that you can go back, but you can only go back for a certain amount of time. They describe it as a river with a layer of ice over the top. Time is the river, and the layer of ice stops people from being able to leave the river and go back in. Well, he has found that there are holes in the ice and you can pop in and out of those holes. So they go back in time to see if it works. And they bring this historian with them as part of like the staff in order to verify stuff and use him as a guide and a lecturer and stuff like that. Well, things go wrong as they do when you travel through time. The book is crazy. It's so good. Not only does Tim Powers have an amazing premise, and he just threw the kitchen sink into this. I mean, you've got Egyptian sorcerers, weird magic systems, time travel, an obsession with literature and poetry in this. It's just everything. And also, Tim Powers is one heck of a writer. He has got a very distinct style that is wonderful to read. I was very impressed. I knew nothing about the book other than what Samwise told me, and I knew nothing about the author before starting this book, and I was blown away. How is he not more popular? I want to read more of his books. One of them keeps staring me down whenever I go to recycled books. Maybe next time when I go, I'll pick it up. It takes place in like Los Angeles, and I think it involves, I don't know, Mark Twain or something, time travel. I can't remember. That sounds plausible for a book that he would write based on the Anubis Gates. But yeah, the book's very good. I highly recommend it to anyone that likes science fiction or fantasy. I now understand why that thing won the awards that it won. I was very impressed. After that, I dipped right back into the John D. McDonald series, so I don't know what to say. I love them so much, and when the new year starts and you got a lot going on, one of the best ways to deal with it is get cozy with your reads. At least that's what works for me. Whenever I've got high stress times in my life, going back to the things that really bring me a lot of joy or just let me escape always works. So I read Dress Her in Indigo book 11 in the Travis McGee series. Now, this one wasn't one of my favorites the first read through, but this time I think it's one of the best books in the series. I think it is very indicative of the series overall, except that it takes place in Mexico instead of Florida. Most of the books take place in and around Florida. Like, I love Nightmare in Pink, but I can't recommend that as like the Travis McGee novel because it takes place in New York City, and while it is fantastic, it is not quite as bad as recommending The Green Ripper as the McGee novel, but it comes close. Now, this is closer to being like the McGee novel you could give someone because quite a few of the books take place in Mexico or visit Mexico. It makes sense. John D. MacDonald lived in Mexico for quite a while early in his writing career, so he really knows the lay of the land. Well, this one, McGee is tasked by a rich dude who got paralyzed recently to go find out how his daughter died in Mexico. She just burned out of college and got in this bad group, and they ran off to Mexico. Then at some point she died under mysterious circumstances. Now the man can't go because he's now bedridden until he can recover enough to even, be in a wheelchair. And so he asks McGee and Meyer to go to Mexico and figure out what happened. So he does it. The book is very good. Like, when I first read it, I was like, okay, cool. We're in Mexico. This is awesome. And then it kind of dragged in places, but those places where it drags, I just wasn't paying attention because this has one of the better mysteries and plot twists in the entire series, and it's so cool. And this has always had one of the best endings. Now, I've mentioned it recently, but McDonald's endings aren't always the best. Like, they're good, they're competent, and usually the epilogue that is like the cherry on top really, really does all the heavy lifting for the end of his books. This has an ending that sucks in the best way possible. Travis McGee wins, and by winning, he loses, and everyone loses, and it's just so good. It really, really fits the theme of this entire book. Wow, I cannot believe how much this book has grown on me reading it the second time. After that, I did a buddy read with Carlos from StoryTube. He gave me a couple of options for books we could read together that he was interested in, and I went with The Cut by George Pelecanos, and we both agreed that it's not very good. It is like a 2.5-star book, maybe. I think that the dialogue is unrealistic. The main character is fine. He's a global war on terror veteran. He enlisted right after 9/11 and served in the Marines, I think. And now he is a private investigator for a law firm, like an unlicensed private investigator. Here's the thing. What drove me nuts this entire book is the author alludes to a lot of other crime writers. Tell me what this sounds like. This guy is an unlicensed investigator who lives by his own rules and is obsessed with kind of being free to do what he wants, and he takes 40% of anything he recovers for someone. That's Travis McGee. What? And here's what drove me nuts. In this book, the character reads a lot of books, like crime fiction, literary fiction, and 4 different crime authors are mentioned in this, but not once is John D. MacDonald mentioned. You know why? Because you stole Travis McGee's whole shtick and made it your character's thing. It drove me nuts. I don't understand how this character in our world can be so aware of crime fiction and not once mention the one that his entire job is built on. That bothered me a lot. What also bothered me is when I mentioned the dialogue was kind of bad. This is like a Washington, D.C. pilled book. Everyone there is like obsessed with DC. He never really describes places. He just describes the streets he's on in DC. And it's like, bro, what about the people that haven't been to Washington, DC? Was this just written for like Washington, DC stands? And like I was trying to say with the dialogue, these people talk like they're 50-year-old dudes, even the teenagers. It's like no 17-year-old is listening to this corny ass jazz and indie music that you're talking about. Only old dudes in DC would be listening to that. It's just weird. And yeah, I think that the plot is good. I think that a lot of the suspense and action is good, but no, this book was not for me. I don't know if this book is for anyone. I'm glad I read it because it is a newer crime fiction novel from someone who is well known in the genre, but man, there's a lot to nitpick in this book and it irritated me. Oh, I forgot to mention, yeah, a lot of the dudes in the book are creeps. Even the main character's kind of like a bro. Like, he'll work out and then be like, I need a woman. And it's like, okay. Or he's like, yeah, I'm so cool. I'm banging this college girl. Yeah, I'm in my 30s, but it's cool because she's an intern and she's like 21. And I'm like, okay, I guess. Like, it didn't bother me that much until it got pointed out. And then I started paying attention and I'm like, wait. Oh, and at some points, they talk about, oh yeah, they'll bring these two criminal dudes. Yeah, they party back here. They bring women and girls. And I'm like, wait, why are you specifying women and girls? That's creepy. So I don't, there's a lot wrong with this book. If any of you have read it, let me know what you thought of it. I don't know anyone else that's read it besides Carlos. After that, I read How to Write Pulp Fiction by James Scott Bell. I like James Scott Bell's writing books. They're very interesting. Some of the advice I don't agree with, and then some of his examples, I'm like, that's a bad passage. He'll be like, yeah, you got to write stuff like this, and then his like this isn't good, but a lot of his advice is good, and it's very motivating. He writes these books in a way that gets you hyped up to write and to be a better author. And that's cool. It's part of my wanting to read more nonfiction, and I like reading books on how to write because they're just fun for me. And maybe someday I'll utilize all that knowledge or not. You might be sensing a pattern, but guess what? I read another Travis McGee book, The Long Lavender Look, book 12 in the McGee series. It's incredible. It's one of the best books in the series. I think about this one probably as much as all the others combined. I think that without a doubt, McDonald just kept getting better throughout writing this series. A couple of them kind of lag later on. I don't know if that was because they're not for me. I guess we'll find out when I reread, because I've already got a couple of them that are way better on a reread. But The Long Lavender Look starts with McGee and Meyer traveling at night through this swamp highway, and out of nowhere this woman comes running across the road, and McGee has to weave out of the way just as he rights himself again, driving Miss Agnes, his Rolls-Royce truck. Yes, it is a Rolls-Royce converted into a truck. It is fantastic. The rear tire blows and it pops into a ditch, and he almost drowns. Meyer saves him. Then they have to walk to this town. That morning they tell the tow place, they're like, hey, can you go get this? And while they're waiting for the truck to be towed, the cops show up and say, you're both under arrest. They don't know why. They get to jail. Meyer gets his face busted, and McGee is livid, and he's being told that he is accused of murdering a man, torturing and murdering a man who was suspected of a big bank heist of like 200 or 400 grand or something like that. They even have evidence that McGee was there, and of course he wasn't, but how's he going to prove that? And this book just takes off from there. And there are some twists and turns in this one, and it's very, very good. It is unsettling. Also, this is like the most Reacher-ass McGee novel, which, to reverse that, the Reacher novels are like this. Because look at the very first Reacher novel. What's happening? He's in this small rural town. He gets accused of murder. It's obviously him. He gets arrested, and then he works with the police to solve it. What does that sound like? If you just replace Reacher with McGee in that statement, it's The Long Lavender Look. But The Long Lavender Look is better, which is pretty impressive because The Killing Floor is a very good book. Yeah, Long Lavender Look, one of my favorites in the series. Even better the second time. There's some stuff in there that I didn't notice the first time, and I just thought, wow, so much goes on in so few pages, in just very crisp, very clean writing. I adore it so much. Okay, so I did read another Zelazny book, and this book is badass. It is Damnation Alley, and I'm reading his books in chronological order, by the way. I've already read quite a few of them, like This Immortal, Lord of Light, the entire Amber series, Creatures of Light and Darkness, Jack of Shadows. So now what I've done is rolled back, and I'm starting from the beginning and working my way forward. So the next one was Damnation Alley. This book is, what if we took a post-apocalyptic wasteland, kind of like Fallout, and we had Snake Plissken drive a twisted metal car across the United States and try to survive because he has to deliver medicine to Boston from Los Angeles. It's so cool. It is so cool. And the whole book is just fun. The main character is a badass. He is basically Snake Plissken in this armored car with missiles and bullets and guns, and there's like road warrior stuff going on, these bands of motorcycle gangs. And the premise is there was a nuclear war. Essentially, the atmosphere got wrecked, and there are these winds, these crushing winds that blow across the continent, and they're so strong they will rip up boulders and chunks of mountains and stuff. It's basically, I assume it's like the jet stream was what was destroyed, because it really happens between the Appalachian Mountains and the Rocky Mountains. So essentially, Damnation Alley is the middle of America. It's super cool. There's like gigantic scorpions and, radioactive monsters, and there's rad zones that you shouldn't drive through. And if you do, and you get out of your car's protection, it's probably going to kill you. It's so badass. It's a little corny at times. It's not quite a 5-star read, but it is one very fun read. I highly recommend it to anyone wanting this like cool post-apocalyptic action-filled adventure story that does have some pretty good characters in it. The main character is cool. He's fun to follow. His backstory is interesting. I think it kind of peters out toward the end, and there's like a little too much action, which is weird for me to say considering the kinds of books I like, but it kind of dragged. Now, it dragged on purpose because this was like the last leg and he's basically scraping and clawing his way to Boston. But yeah, it's a very fun book. I highly recommend it. It would be in my top like 10 Zelazny books to recommend to people. Like, it's very different than Lord of Light and This Immortal and the Chronicles of Amber series. This Immortal is post-apocalyptic, has a very different tone. And the others, they're very fantastical and epic in style. Damnation Alley is just post-apocalyptic fun. After that, we read my book of the month. Might even be my book of the year. So watch out. Every other book I'm reading this year, I think it's a bit of a power move to read the best thing I'm going to read all year in January and then try to beat it. And that was 12 Months by Jim Butcher. I've been waiting for this book for years now, and it did not disappoint. This book is incredible. It is unlike any other Dresden novel, and the entire story is about Dresden trying to recover from the events of Battleground, and it hurts to read. I was choked up essentially the entire time. I was weeping about a third of the time I was reading that book. Well, listening to it, because let's be real, those books should be listened to. James Marsters is incredible. I don't know what I can talk about in this because it's hard to be spoiler free about the 19th book in a series or whatever this is. I can't remember. 18th, who knows? Who cares? He can just write these forever. But yeah, the book's incredible. It is Jim Butcher's best written novel, which is saying something because he basically got better every time he released a novel. I don't know how that's possible. It's literally like exponential increase in ability as a writer. I adore this book. It is probably my favorite Dresden novel because it has everyone and it has everything. I love it so much. And he manages to introduce new characters in here that feel like they've been there forever. He reintroduces minor characters from other books that just feel like a part of the family almost immediately. And this book is about healing. It's just so beautiful. I loved every second of it. I'm tempted to just reread it again immediately. I can't say enough good things about it. After that, I needed to take a break from fiction because I knew that whatever I read right after 12 months was just going to essentially drag down my enjoyment of 12 months because nothing is going to come close to that. So I reread long nonfiction title incoming, Slaying the Dragon, A Secret History of Dungeons and Dragons by Ben Riggs. This is one of the best histories of D&D books out there. This one does a good job of showing early TSR, but the main premise of this book is let's cover the downfall of TSR. What brought TSR to the brink of destruction? You know, who bought them? And how did we get here? It's from a lot of stupid mistakes and a lot of pride. And the book is very good. If you want to get into learning about the history of D&D, this is a great place to start. Of Dice and Men is also a very good place to start. I mean, you really can't go wrong. I have not read a bad history of Dungeons and Dragons, so I highly recommend this book. And on reread, it was just as good, if not better. I really enjoy Ben Riggs' writing style. What's funny is I've been listening to his podcast for years now, and when I went back to his book, I can hear him talking, even though the narrator was not Ben Riggs for this book. The turns of phrase are Ben Riggs, which is great. It's really good to have a nonfiction author with a very distinct voice. So yeah, it was a ton of fun to go back to this. I love the history of Dungeons and Dragons. I'm probably going to reread another one later this year. I did Of Dice and Men last year. So this year, I don't know which one I'll do next, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm just obsessed with this for some weird reason. After that, I decided to dip my toe into something fresh, something different. I had to get away from fantasy. And there was a book, 44, like .44, like 44 caliber, by H.A. DeRosso. I thought, I'll get into this Western. It's been recommended to me by a couple of people, and also I have this long collection of notes / essays that Howard Andrew Jones shared in a Discord group I'm in, before he passed away. It was devastating. And he really got into Westerns, and a lot of it is him talking about how Westerns are sword and sorcery books except with guns. And he's not wrong. And this was one of the books he enjoyed. I did not. I don't know why. I think it was kind of corny. Maybe it was the narrator. I'll have to get a physical copy and give it a go. It's just okay. Like, it's okay enough to finish reading, but it doesn't stand out. and it doesn't make me want more. The plot is kind of convoluted in the beginning because it's like a weird flashback scene, which drives me nuts. But anyways, this guy chases down a dude to kill him because he's like a gunman and that's what he does. He's a bounty hunter or whatever. The fight doesn't go the way the main character expected, so it leaves him unsettled, and he collects his bounty, and then he goes to that dead guy's hometown to figure out why someone wanted him killed and who wanted him killed. And it's just kind of weird. It's not like a typical Western, which is a good thing, but it was just lacking for me. I don't know. Maybe I will try it again at some point, but I almost just want to look for other Westerns instead. After that, I was a little frustrated. And so I thought, let's just read more Travis McGee. Yep, that's the theme of this month. I read 4 Travis McGee novels again in this month of January. And the last one I read was A Tan and Sandy Silence. This one is good, but not great. It starts with McGee just chilling on his boat, and this dude that he used to know that's a bit of an ass rolls up and is like, oh, you're hiding my wife. Where's my wife? And like pulls a gun on McGee. And he's like, I don't know anything about it. What are you talking about? And the dude like mag dumps on him and misses all of his shots. And McGee like kicks the gun out of his hand. He got like grazed by a bullet on the heel, and he beats the brakes off this dude, and the dude's like crying and is like, I'm just trying to find my wife. But he's still kind of sus, and McGee's like, what the heck is going on? And he starts doing a deep dive to try to find this guy's wife, even though everyone else told him to back off, whatever. And Meyer's like, bro, you're losing your touch. How'd you even let that guy pull a gun on you, let alone get shots off? Like, you're usually a lot more paranoid than that. McGee's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not losing anything. And he's like, if you're getting soft, like, you're going to end up dead. I'd rather you quit this whole retirement thing and me have a friend I can write Christmas letters to and visit sometimes, or have to put a pebble on your gravestone. And so a lot of this book is McGee trying to figure out what's going on with him internally and like why he's just feeling like he's lost his touch or his desire to do the things he does. That stuff is interesting, but overall this one's just okay. I think the plot's kind of convoluted and it really drags at times. Even toward the end, like he literally just spends, I don't know, a week or 2 just chilling on the beach with this woman who is a major part of the plot, and he's like watching her on purpose. But it's like, did we really need this much of the word count dedicated to him hanging out on the beach with this borderline deranged woman? So I don't know. It's okay. The ending is interesting. I take that back. This ending was not interesting. This ending was unsettling in a very cool way. It has a really interesting climax. I think that before that, he has to get away from someone that has nearly killed him, and he escapes into the ocean, and it is very tense and just very enjoyable to read, and the way he gets rescued. And it's a good one, but I don't know, when I'm comparing it to other ones in this series, I guess I'd put it in the middle, which I guess is pretty good considering there's 21 books. But yeah, that's everything I read in January. How many books is that? 13 books, I think. And I got other stuff that I'm like chipping away at, short fiction that I'm reading with my eyeballs. I've spent, a lot of time now reading Eyes on Paper, just here and there, not finishing anything. So that stuff might catch up, and I might have some crazy month where I finish all of them. And it's like, well, I read 20 books this month, but 10 of them I was chipping away at for 6 months. So what are my plans for February? I'm going to read more Travis McGee and more Zelazny. I'm hoping that the Zelazny I read's not bad or just mediocre, but let me tell you, it ain't looking good. I'm currently reading a D&D adventure module because I want to get back to running 4th edition, and I'm kind of using that as a catalyst for getting back into more 3D printing of tabletop RPG stuff and painting. So we'll see how that goes. I've got some newer fantasy I want to try. I'm not going to name names because I'm not sure if I'm going to read them, and I'm also worried they might be bad. And so I don't want to be like, hey, I'm going to check this out and then never talk about it again. The next 2 Zelazny books I'll be reading are Isle of the Dead and Doorways in the Sand. I guarantee I'll at least get Isle of the Dead done in February. I might do more Fredric Brown. I am going to be reading the first book in Jack Vance's Lioness series, and that is Soldrin's Garden. I'll be doing that. See, I got it on my phone. That's what I was doing. I'm looking down at my phone to see what I've got queued up in my audiobook player. I don't know after that. If anyone's got any newer fantasy suggestions, let me know. I have a list of things I'm interested in, because like I said before, I thought about making that my project for the year, but I don't know if I'm going to. I don't know if I'm gonna have a project. I think what I'm gonna do is have a project where it's kind of behind the scenes, and when I finish it at a random time of the year, I will just make a video about it, and there'll probably be hints if you're watching my wrap-ups. Other than that, my next video will be a book haul. I have a big pile of very cool books sitting right out of the frame of this video, and I'm going to be filming that immediately after filming this, so look forward to that. I'll post them relatively quickly, like one after the other. Let me know how your reading went in January. Let me know what your plans are for reading in February. Thanks for watching, and with that, I'll see you next time.